Welcome to the second tutorial on Mendelev's periodic law. But before I start, let me make one small correction. In my earlier tutorial, by mistake I mentioned Newton's law of octave. Actually it should be Newland's law of octave. Okay? Now let us discuss further about Mendelev's periodic law. Now Mendelev's periodic law states that physical and chemical properties of elements are periodic function of their atomic weights. Based on the 63 elements that were known, he arranged those elements in the increasing order of their atomic weights, and he found that there is a recurrence of the periodic properties. Some of the periodic properties are like atomic radius, ionization potential, electron affinity. Let me talk a little bit about them. Atomic radius is the distance between the center of the nucleus to the outermost shell of an atom. Ionization potential is the energy required to remove one electron from the outermost shell of an atom to form a positive ion. Electron affinity is the energy released when an atom absorbs an electron in its outermost shell to form a negative ion. And these properties are periodic properties. That means they recur after a certain interval. Now there are some tremendous benefits of Mendelev's periodic law and from periodic table. Some of the benefits are, during his time there are certain elements which were not known, but he predicted them. So he kept open position for those elements in his periodic table, and since these elements were not known, he gave them some kind of pseudonym like Eka silicon, Eka boron, like that, and he kept spaces for them. And he also predicted that when these elements will be discovered, what will be their properties like. For example, he predicted the elements like germanium. Germanium was not known at that time, but he realized that these elements will have property like silicon, so he mentioned it as Eka silicon. He knew that it is not silicon, but he knew that it will have many properties similar to silicon. Then for the element gallium, he knew that that element was not known, was not discovered, but he realized it will have properties very similar to aluminium. You can see it, I have circled them with red. So he named gallium as Eka aluminium. Similarly, the element scandium was not discovered, and he mentioned it as Eka boron. And he also predicted their properties, what will be their properties like. And when these elements were discovered, it was really found that yes, these elements were there and they have properties as he predicted. So that gave him huge reputation. And he corrected some of the incorrect atomic weights that were known at his time. Some of the elements atomic weight were incorrect, and when he designed his periodic table, he corrected their atomic weights. And of course there are many shortcomings of his periodic table. Some of them are noble gases like helium, neon, argon. They did not have any position in his periodic table. Okay, you can see the first 3 rows of Mendelev's periodic table here. You can pause your video if you want, and you can see that how he designed his periodic table. So some of the shortcomings are noble gases, then position of hydrogen. A single position of hydrogen could not be assigned, whether it should be with the group of alkali metals or it should be with the halogens. It was not decided. Then certain elements which were having higher atomic weight uh, which were having position in the periodic table before an element with lower atomic weight. So which is for example cobalt with atomic weight 58.9 was placed before nickel with atomic weight 58.6, which is contradictory of the periodic law, because periodic law states that periodic law is based on atomic weight. So how the higher atomic weight can be placed before lower atomic weight? So that was definitely one shortcoming. Okay, then few other shortcomings like position of isotopes. Isotopes are the same elements, only having different atomic weights. So basically, based on periodic law, isotopes cannot be placed in the same position. So that was one shortcoming of his periodic law. So same position for isotopes cannot be, same place in the periodic table cannot be justified for isotopes. Then position of rare earth element and actinides cannot be justified based on atomic weight. I will discuss later about rare earth and actinides when I discuss further on periodic table. So leaving these few shortcomings, the greatest it was one of the greatest discoveries of science.